gentle brown eyes, rosy cheeks, and a warm smile that refused to disappear despite life's hardships. She worked 3 jobs every day just to keep a roof over her head and pay the medical debts left behind after her mother's long illness. People rarely noticed her kindness. Most only noticed her weight. Customers mocked her appearance, whispered cruel jokes, and treated her as though she were invisible. Emma simply smiled and kept working, believing that surviving mattered more than defending her pride. That rainy autumn evening, just as she finished her shift, her manager begged her to make one last catering delivery after the regular driver called in sick. The order had already been paid for, and he promised to double her wages. Emma desperately needed the money. So she said yes. She had no idea that one simple decision would pull her into a deadly mafia war, uncover secrets buried for decades, and place her directly beside the most feared billionaire in America. Gunfire erupted across Blackwood Estate as assassins stormed the mansion. Dante Russo grabbed Emma and pulled her behind a massive stone pillar just before bullets tore through her delivery van. This wasn't a food delivery, Dante said. It was a trap. He rushed Emma inside as his security team sealed the mansion. Steel barriers covered every window, emergency lights filled the halls with a blood-red glow, and armed guards took their positions. Emma stared in disbelief. This wasn't simply a billionaire's home. It was a fortress built for war. Within moments, Dante learned the attackers had breached the estate using hidden security blind spots. "So we have a traitor," he said coldly. The room fell silent. Someone inside his own organization had betrayed him. As wounded guards were carried through the hall, Emma ignored the danger and rushed to help. Using her first aid training, she stopped the bleeding of an injured guard while reassuring him that he would survive. Dante quietly watched her. One of his advisors whispered, "She's only a waitress." Dante shook his head. "No. She's the only person here who forgot about herself long enough to help someone else." Meanwhile, security officers searched the catering containers again. Nothing was found except the envelope of photographs showing Dante's fiancée, Victoria, with another man. Then Dante noticed something hidden in one of the pictures. A rare silver watch. Only 6 had ever been made. One belonged to his cousin, Marco. Someone close to him wanted those photographs to distract him at the exact moment the attack began. Before anyone could investigate further, every security monitor suddenly went black. A few seconds later, one screen came back to life. A man wearing a white raven mask appeared. "Good evening, Mr. Russo. I expected you to die tonight." "What do you want?" Dante asked. "Everything." The screen changed to a map of the estate. More than 50 red markers appeared across the property. Emma felt her blood run cold. The mansion was surrounded. Moments later, another explosion shook the building. "The underground garage has been breached," a guard shouted. "They're inside." The battle had moved into the mansion. Dante immediately ordered his men to protect every civilian. "There aren't any civilians left," one guard replied. Dante looked directly at Emma. "There is one." Emma refused to hide. "I don't have a weapon," she said, "but I can still help." She grabbed a first aid kit and ran toward another wounded guard, leaving Dante's men stunned by her courage. For the first time in years, Dante felt genuine respect for someone outside his own world. Then every light inside the mansion suddenly went dark. Only moonlight remained. A single gunshot echoed through the hallway. Slow footsteps approached from the shadows. A man wearing the same white raven mask stepped into view. He slowly raised his pistol. But instead of aiming at Dante, he pointed the gun directly at Emma. Emma Reyes had never seen death standing only a few feet away. The masked man did not hesitate. His pistol remained locked on her chest while the hallway fell into complete silence. Around them, even the sound of distant gunfire seemed to disappear. Emma froze. She had no weapon. No training. No idea why a stranger wanted her dead. The attacker tilted his head slightly. "So this is the waitress." His voice sounded almost amused. Dante Russo stepped forward without lowering his own pistol. If you came for me, leave her out of this. The masked man laughed. She wasn't supposed to survive the delivery. Emma felt her heart sink. What do you mean? You were meant to disappear with everyone else. Before anyone could react, the attacker fired. The muzzle flashed through the darkness. Dante moved faster than Emma could even blink. He slammed into her, throwing both of them behind a marble pillar. The bullet struck the wall where Emma had been standing only a fraction of a second earlier. Guards opened fire immediately. The hallway erupted into chaos. The masked assassin disappeared into the darkness before anyone could reach him. Two of Dante's men rushed after him, but only echoing footsteps answered them. Emma struggled to breathe. You! She looked at Dante in disbelief. You took the bullet from me. Dante glanced down. A crimson stain slowly spread across the sleeve of his black suit. The bullet had grazed his upper arm. It missed anything important. Emma's face turned pale. You're bleeding. I've survived worse. She ignored his answer. Sit down. Dante almost smiled. Was that an order? Yes. One of the guards looked shocked. Nobody spoke to Dante Russo like that. Yet instead of becoming angry, Dante quietly sat against the wall. Emma quickly opened the medical kit she had carried earlier. I need scissors. A guard immediately handed them to her. She carefully cut away the torn fabric around Dante's shoulder. The wound was not deep, but blood continued flowing steadily. Emma cleaned it with practiced hands. This is going to sting. It already does. She poured antiseptic across the wound. Several guards instinctively looked away. Dante never made a sound. Emma wrapped a fresh bandage around his arm before checking it one final time. There. You'll live. One of the older guards finally spoke. Sir, should we call the doctor? Dante kept looking at Emma. I already have one. Emma laughed nervously. I'm definitely not a doctor. No. But you stayed. She looked confused. What? Everyone else in this city runs away from danger. You walked toward it. Emma lowered her eyes. I couldn't leave people suffering. The hallway became strangely quiet. Most of the men surrounding Dante had spent years working in violence. Kindness was something they rarely witnessed. One of the security officers suddenly approached carrying a tablet. Sir? What now? We identified 3 of the attackers. Dante stood. Show me. Security footage displayed blurred images captured just before the cameras failed. One face made the entire room tense. Victor Hale. A former captain of Dante's own security team. He disappeared 6 months ago. One guard whispered. He didn't disappear. Dante answered calmly. He switched sides. Another image appeared. More familiar faces. Former employees. Former allies. Even one trusted accountant. Emma stared at the screen. How can so many people betray you? Dante answered without emotion. Money. That's all? For some people. He switched off the screen. For others, power is worth even more. A loud crash echoed somewhere upstairs. Several guards immediately raised their weapons. Radio chatter filled the room. Second floor secure. Negative. We lost contact with Team 4. They're gone. Dante looked toward the staircase. I'm going. His advisor stepped in front of him. You're injured. I can still walk. You could die. So could they. Without another word, Dante climbed the staircase. Emma watched him disappear. Then she noticed something lying near the broken doorway. One of the attackers had dropped a small black device during the firefight. Nobody else seemed to notice. Curious, she carefully picked it up. It looked like a miniature transmitter. A tiny green light blinked steadily. She frowned. Why would they leave this behind? One of the younger guards glanced at it. I've never seen one before. Emma turned the device over. Something caught her attention. The timer. It was counting backward. 30 seconds. What does this do? The guard's eyes widened. Oh no. He grabbed his radio. Bomb. The hallway exploded into motion. Everyone move. Emma stared at the timer. 23 seconds. Dante was already halfway upstairs. Without thinking, Emma sprinted toward the staircase. Mr. Russo. Her voice echoed through the mansion. No answer. She climbed faster. 20 seconds. Dante. He finally turned. What is it? She held up the device. I think this is a bomb. The color drained from several guards' faces. One explosives expert looked at it for less than a second before shouting. Everyone down. Dante did not hesitate. He grabbed Emma around the waist and threw both of them through the doorway of a nearby library. The explosion came an instant later. The entire hallway disappeared beneath fire and shattered concrete. Bookshelves collapsed. Windows burst outward. A massive section of the ceiling crashed where Dante had been standing only moments earlier. Dust filled every corner of the room. Emma coughed violently. Her ears rang. Slowly she opened her eyes. Dante was still shielding her with his own body. Pieces of broken stone covered his back. You, Emma whispered. You protected me again. He helped her to her feet. You warned us. If you hadn't found that transmitter. He looked toward the destroyed hallway. Half my people would be dead. The explosives expert emerged through the smoke. Sir? Dante turned. The blast destroyed the only passage connecting the west and east wings. What does that mean? We're trapped. Silence followed. Another guard ran into the ruined library. His breathing was uneven. We recovered one of the attackers alive. Dante's expression hardened. Bring him. Minutes later, 2 guards dragged a wounded assassin into the room. His mask had been removed. Blood covered one side of his face. Dante crouched in front of him. Who sent you? The man smiled despite his injuries. You already know. Say it. The assassin laughed. You think this is about your empire? It never was. His smile widened. This was always about the girl. Every person in the room turned toward Emma. She stepped backward in confusion. What? The dying assassin looked directly into her frightened eyes. You really don't remember? Before anyone could ask another question, he bit down on something hidden inside his mouth. Within seconds, blood spilled from his lips. He collapsed. Dead. The library fell into stunned silence. Emma stared at the lifeless body, unable to understand his final words. Dante slowly rose to his feet. For the first time that night, uncertainty crossed his face. Because one terrifying possibility had just become impossible to ignore. Emma Reyes had not entered his life by accident. Someone had been waiting for her long before she ever arrived at Blackwood Estate. The assassin's body still lay on the library floor while silence settled over the room like a heavy fog. No one dared speak. His final words echoed through every corner of Blackwood Estate. This was always about the girl. Emma Reyes stood frozen, unable to understand why a complete stranger had spoken as though he knew her. She searched every face around her, hoping someone else had an explanation. Instead, she found only suspicion. Several guards glanced at her before quickly looking away. One finally broke the silence. Sir, what if she isn't who she says she is? Emma turned toward him in disbelief. What? Another man stepped forward. She arrived at the exact moment the attack began. The photographs came with her. The attackers knew she would be here. It could all be connected. Emma's heart pounded. You think I planned this? No one is accusing you. It certainly sounds like you are. The room grew tense. Dante Russo slowly looked around at his men. Enough. Everyone fell silent. I've watched Emma since she entered this estate. His voice remained calm, but every word carried authority. She treated wounded guards she had never met. She warned us about the explosive. She had opportunities to run. She stayed. He looked directly at the guard who had spoken first. If she were working for our enemies, Half of you would already be dead. No one argued. Emma quietly lowered her eyes. She had spent years being judged because of her appearance. Tonight she was being judged for surviving. Neither felt fair. Dante turned toward his security chief, Marcus Kane. Lock down every communication line. It has already been done. No one enters. No one leaves. Marcus nodded. What about the police? Dante looked toward the shattered windows. They're already on their way. They'll ask questions. And someone will make sure they never find the real answers. Emma frowned. What does that mean? Dante met her gaze. The people behind this attack have friends everywhere. Including the police? Including people far more powerful. Emma suddenly realized how little she understood about the world standing around her. This was not simply a wealthy businessman protecting his fortune. This was a man whose enemies could manipulate entire systems. One of the estate's technicians hurried into the room carrying a damaged laptop. Sir, we recovered part of the security archive. Anything useful? Only 3 minutes before the cameras were disabled. Play it. The screen flickered. Footage from the main gate appeared. Emma watched herself arriving in the catering van. Everything looked ordinary. Then another vehicle entered the frame. A black maintenance truck. Marcus frowned. Who authorized that? No record. The video continued. The truck stopped beside the western wall for less than 60 seconds. No workers stepped out. Then it drove away. Marcus zoomed in. One of the guards recognized it immediately. That's impossible. What? That truck belongs to our own maintenance company. The room became quiet again. Marcus looked toward Dante. Someone inside arranged this. Dante nodded once. We already knew we had a traitor. Marcus hesitated. I think it's worse than that. What do you mean? The attackers didn't just know the estate. They knew tonight's security rotation. Emma noticed something change in Dante's expression. Not fear. Disappointment. Someone he trusted had sold him. Before anyone could continue, another voice echoed through the hallway. Dante. Everyone instinctively reached for their weapons. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit slowly entered the library. His silver hair was perfectly combed despite the chaos surrounding him. Emma recognized him from business magazines. Antonio Russo. Dante's uncle. He raised both hands. I'm unarmed. Marcus still pointed his pistol. You were supposed to arrive tomorrow. My flight landed early. Antonio looked around at the destruction. I see I missed a peaceful evening. Dante studied him carefully. No one told you what happened. I heard the explosions before I reached the gate. For several long seconds, uncle and nephew simply stared at each other. Emma sensed years of unspoken history between them. Antonio finally noticed her. And who is this young lady? Emma Reyes. The waitress. Antonio smiled politely. So you're the woman who saved my nephew? Emma awkwardly nodded. I didn't really. You did. He interrupted gently. Our family owes you a great debt. Dante continued watching him without speaking. Marcus quietly stepped beside Dante. Sir? What? Should we search him? Antonio laughed. You've become cautious. I've become alive. Dante answered without smiling. Antonio allowed the guards to search him. Nothing suspicious was found. Still, the atmosphere remained uncomfortable. Emma watched the exchange carefully. Even family members treated each other like strangers. As everyone returned to discussing the attack, Emma quietly wandered toward one of the broken windows. Rain continued falling outside. Emergency lights flashed across the grounds. She suddenly noticed movement near the gardens. Someone was running. Not away from the estate. Toward a small stone chapel hidden among the trees. Emma frowned. The figure wore the same black tactical clothing as Dante's guards. Yet he was moving alone. Almost as though he wanted to avoid being seen. She turned toward Marcus. Who's that? Marcus looked outside. What? The man near the chapel. Marcus immediately grabbed binoculars. His expression changed. Nobody was assigned there. He spoke into his radio. Intercept the runner. Several guards rushed outside. The mysterious man saw them coming. He immediately changed direction. Instead of surrendering, he sprinted toward the forest. A chase began across the rain-soaked grounds. Emma watched anxiously. The man reached the outer wall. Then stopped. For one brief second he turned back toward the mansion. Lightning illuminated his face. Marcus lowered the binoculars in disbelief. I don't believe it. Dante took them. His jaw tightened. The fleeing man was Lucas Bennett, one of Dante's personal bodyguards. A man who had worked beside him for almost 12 years. Without hesitation, Lucas climbed over the wall and disappeared into the darkness before anyone could catch him. Silence settled over the room once again. Emma looked at Dante. I'm sorry. Dante slowly handed the binoculars back to Marcus. I trusted him. Marcus spoke quietly. He trained half our security team. Dante nodded. And now every weakness he taught us belongs to our enemies. Before anyone could recover from the shock, one of the estate's intelligence officers rushed into the library carrying a sealed envelope. We found this inside Lucas's office. Marcus opened it carefully. Inside was a single handwritten note. No signature. Only one sentence. You are searching for the wrong traitor. Everyone stared at the message. Marcus looked around the room. If Lucas wasn't the mastermind. Dante slowly folded the note. Then the real betrayer is still standing somewhere inside this house. As thunder rolled above Blackwood Estate, every person in the room instinctively looked at everyone else. Because from that moment forward, no friendship, no loyalty, and no family bond could be trusted anymore. It felt like a prison. The gunfire had finally stopped, but the silence left behind was even more unsettling. Smoke still drifted from the damaged west wing, and emergency crews moved quietly across the grounds, collecting evidence that would never appear in any official report. Broken marble, shattered glass, and burned vehicles were all that remained of the attack. Emma Reyes stood near one of the mansion's enormous windows, staring at the gray morning sky. Less than 12 hours earlier, she had been worrying about rent. Now she was surrounded by armed guards, hidden tunnels, and secrets she could not begin to understand. She wrapped her arms around herself. I should leave. Dante Russo stood a few feet away, studying a digital map of the estate. No. Emma sighed. You keep saying that. Because it's true. My life is out there. He looked at her. No. They know your face. They know your name. And after last night they'll assume you heard something they cannot allow you to repeat. Emma shook her head. But I don't know anything. They don't care. She wanted to argue. Instead, she realized he was right. Someone had already tried to kill her without ever speaking to her. Truth no longer mattered. Only survival did. A soft knock interrupted the conversation. Marcus Kane entered carrying a thick brown file. I found something. Dante closed the map. What is it? Marcus placed the folder on the table. I asked our intelligence team to investigate Emma. Emma looked offended. You investigated me? Marcus answered honestly. Someone wanted you dead. We needed to know why. Emma folded her arms. You could have asked? We don't have that luxury. Dante opened the file. Most of it contained exactly what Emma expected. Birth certificate. School records. Employment history. Medical insurance. Tax information. Nothing unusual. Until the final section. Dante slowly lifted a yellow newspaper clipping dated 23 years earlier. The headline immediately caught his attention. Local detective disappears after testifying against crime network. He looked toward Emma. Your father was a detective? Emma blinked. My father died before I was born. Who told you that? My mother. Marcus exchanged a glance with Dante. The official record doesn't say he died. Emma stepped closer. What does it say? Marcus answered quietly. He vanished. Emma stared at him. That's impossible. The case was never solved. Dante continued reading. Detective Gabriel Reyes was investigating organized crime before he disappeared. Emma's breathing became uneven. My mother never told me that. Marcus turned another page. It gets stranger. Inside the folder was an old photograph. A much younger Gabriel Reyes stood beside three other men. One wore a police uniform. Another wore a military jacket. The fourth man's face had been partially torn away. Only part of his expensive black suit remained visible. Emma picked up the photograph. I've never seen this. Dante took it gently. His eyes narrowed. I know this suit. Marcus looked closer. So do I. Neither man spoke for several seconds. Emma finally asked, What is it? Dante answered slowly. That photograph was taken at a charity gala hosted by my father. Emma looked confused. Your father knew mine? I don't know. But they were in the same place. Marcus suddenly remembered something. Wait. He hurried toward another cabinet and returned carrying an old family album rescued from Dante's private study. He flipped through several pages. Finally he stopped. The same ballroom. The same evening. Different angle. This time the torn man was completely visible. Emma gasped. Standing beside Gabriel Reyes was none other than Alessandro Russo, Dante's late father. The room became silent. Emma looked from one photograph to the other. Our fathers knew each other. Dante nodded slowly. They did. But why would a detective be friends with a mafia boss? I don't think they were friends. Marcus leaned over the table. I think they were investigating the same enemy. Before anyone could continue, Antonio Russo entered the room. His expression changed the moment he saw the photographs. Where did you find those? Marcus answered. Hidden in the archives. Antonio's face grew pale. I thought they were destroyed. Dante looked directly at his uncle. You've seen them before. Antonio hesitated. Then he quietly sat down. There are things your father never wanted you to know. Dante's voice became colder. Start talking. Antonio took a deep breath. 23 years ago, your father secretly worked with Detective Gabriel Reyes. Emma could hardly believe what she was hearing. A mafia boss worked with a police detective? Antonio nodded. They shared one enemy. Who? A man known only as the Architect. The name hung heavily in the room. Marcus frowned. I've searched for that name for years. Antonio looked at him. Because no one knows who he really is. He doesn't build buildings. He builds wars. Emma listened in stunned silence. Antonio continued. The Architect never controls organizations directly. He manipulates people. He turns partners into enemies. He convinces brothers to betray brothers. He waits while others destroy each other. Dante slowly understood. The photographs. Antonio nodded. They were never meant to expose Victoria. They were meant to divide you. Marcus added quietly. Just like he divided our security team. Emma looked at Antonio. And my father? He discovered something. What? Antonio lowered his eyes. We never found out. He disappeared before he could tell anyone. Emma felt tears forming. My mother lied to protect me. No, Antonio answered gently. She lied because someone was still hunting your family. Emma's knees felt weak. Everything she believed about her childhood suddenly seemed uncertain. Every memory. Every answer. Every loss. Marcus suddenly received a message through his earpiece. His expression immediately darkened. Dante. What now? We searched Detective Gabriel Reyes's old apartment. And? There was nothing. Marcus swallowed. Except one hidden safe. Emma leaned forward. What was inside? Marcus looked directly at her. Only a single envelope. He slowly placed it on the table. Across the front, written in faded black ink were 6 chilling words. For Emma. Open only if she survives. No one in the room moved. Because somehow, more than 20 years before the attack on Blackwood Estate, Emma's father had already known that one day his daughter would be hunted. And whatever waited inside that envelope had been hidden long enough to change everything. No one in the room dared reach for it. 23 years had passed since Gabriel Reyes had hidden it away, yet somehow it had survived untouched, waiting for the exact moment his daughter would need it. Emma stared at her own name written across the front. Her hands trembled. My father really expected this. Dante Russo nodded slowly. He expected someone to come after you. Marcus carefully examined the seal. It hasn't been opened. Antonio looked toward Emma. Whatever is inside belongs to you. Emma took a deep breath before breaking the old wax seal. Inside were several folded pages, an old brass key, and a small photograph. The photograph showed Gabriel Reyes holding a smiling little girl no older than 3. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't remember this. She carefully unfolded the letter. The handwriting was neat despite the faded ink. My dearest Emma. If you are reading this, then I was right. The people I failed to stop have finally found you. Everything your mother told you was meant to protect you. She was never lying because she wanted to deceive you. She was trying to give you a normal childhood. There is something hidden that must never fall into the wrong hands. I trusted only one man to help me protect it. His name is Alessandro Russo. If Alessandro is gone, then trust his son. He may carry a dangerous name, but he carries his father's honor. Do not run from the truth anymore. The future of many innocent people depends on what you choose next. Emma lowered the letter. The room was silent. Dante looked away for a moment. My father never told me. Antonio sighed. He wanted to keep you out of it. Marcus picked up the brass key. There has to be another hiding place. Emma looked back at the letter. There is more. She unfolded the final page. On the back was a hand-drawn map. It pointed toward an abandoned railway station on the edge of the city. Beneath it were only 4 words. The locker remembers everything. Marcus immediately understood. Storage lockers. Dante nodded. Your father left evidence. Before anyone could say another word, alarms echoed through Blackwood Estate once again. Every security monitor suddenly switched on. The same white raven mask appeared on the screen. Congratulations, the distorted voice said. You finally found the letter. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. I've waited 23 years for someone to open it. Dante stepped toward the monitor. You've been watching us. I've been watching all of you. The screen suddenly changed to security footage recorded 1 hour before the attack. A man entered the underground control room. He disabled part of the surveillance system. It wasn't a stranger. It was Marcus Kane. Every guard slowly turned toward him. Marcus stared at the screen in disbelief. I didn't do that. The masked man laughed. Didn't you? Marcus suddenly remembered. My access card was stolen 3 weeks ago. No, the masked man replied. You simply don't remember. Before anyone understood what he meant, Antonio suddenly spoke. There were twins. The room fell silent. He pointed at the screen. That isn't Marcus. It's his brother. Marcus's face turned pale. I never had a brother. You did, Antonio answered quietly. Everyone believed he died years ago. The masked man slowly removed his white raven mask. Everyone froze. The resemblance was undeniable. Same eyes. Same face. Only a long scar crossed his cheek. Marcus whispered, Elias. The man smiled. Hello, brother. Emma could barely breathe. Dante's oldest friend had never betrayed him. His forgotten twin had stolen his identity. Elias looked directly into the camera. Emma. What do you want? She asked. The key. I'm never giving it to you. Elias smiled. You don't have a choice. The screen split into 4 images. Emma's apartment. The diner where she worked. the bakery where she spent every afternoon, and the hospital where her elderly neighbor was recovering. Armed men surrounded every location. Emma's heart nearly stopped. You monster. I learned long ago, Elias replied calmly, that brave people cannot be controlled. But kind people can. Dante immediately understood. He doesn't want revenge. He wants leverage. Elias nodded. Bring me the key. Come alone. Or everyone you love dies before sunset. The screens went black. Emma looked down at the brass key in her trembling hand. For the first time since arriving at Blackwood Estate, she knew exactly what she had to do. She would walk into the enemy's trap to save the people she loved. Dante saw the determination in her eyes. And he realized Emma had already chosen to sacrifice herself. The battle for Blackwood Estate was over. The real war had only just begun.